Hi, welcome back. Today we are doing a VR to April at the channel Tarot and Witchery. The tag or the topic is called Deck FOMO. FOMO, F-O-M-O, stands for fear of missing out. It is a pretty straightforward tag, just a set of 7 or 8 questions, so let's go through my answers now. I feel the need to put out this disclaimer or this preface. If I don't look at the camera, please excuse me. I'm still new to filming. I'm still new to talking out loud to a camera in the first place. So, whatever just gets me talking. So please, again, just excuse me if I don't make eye contact with the camera. I'm not talking to you, a person. I'm talking to a camera. That just does not feel very natural or comfortable yet, but, it is what it is. So thank you for understanding. All right, question number 1. What triggers Deck FOMO for you? Okay, so first let me describe FOMO, or the fear of missing out, in my understanding / in my own experience. Let me see if I can grab a deck to shuffle here. Okay, I feel like I talk a little bit better when I have something to fidget with, so let me just have this in hand. I think it'll help me just feel more comfortable. Okay, FOMO usually gets triggered when people that I see, they gush about a deck that they really enjoy. I feel like these people have shown decks that I really enjoyed before, and we have some similar tastes in decks. If they like this new thing, I might like this new thing too, and I feel like sometimes more people talk about that thing, specifically more people that I follow that I like, they talk about the thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to have that thing as well. I want to feel the happiness that they feel. I want to have the same cute or cool deck that they have. FOMO can also get triggered when something is going to be out of print. There's a couple of decks that I talked myself out of because I think they were going to sell out or they were already out of print, and I was like, oh, maybe I want that deck too. But yeah, just typically FOMO happens when I see videos of that thing being shown. Question number 2. What is a FOMO deck purchase that I regret? That's an easy question. The Cosmic Cycles Tarot. I did a review video of this. That was probably one of the first tarot talk videos that I did last year when I was getting back into making videos. Essentially, the reason why it wasn't working for me was because the scenes felt too they felt too specific. They felt too overly specified for my taste. And I feel like for a tarot deck, I need images and the scenes to be a little bit more symbolic rather than strictly depicting certain scenes. And for sure, getting the deck itself was already a FOMO experience that I don't want to repeat again. The deck had just fulfilled on Kickstarter in 2020 or 2021 or something, and they had put up pre-orders on Etsy. And I think a few people on Kickstarter had already received their decks. So they were posting about it on a Facebook group. I was like, oh my gosh, they seem to really like it. I'm totally going to pre-order it right now. I think I really like it. I love the colors. Pre-ordered it, and it took me probably over a year to actually get it due to issues with the fulfillment on that end. The issues have been solved now. They kind of have a regular pre-order and delivery schedule now. You should check their Instagram for more updates if you're interested in getting the deck. The Instagram is Cosmic Cycles Tarot. But anyway, at the time, almost the day after or the day of that I bought that deck on Etsy, I kind of knew I shouldn't have bought it. I kind of knew that I just bought it because other people were getting it. And so sometimes you just know in your heart or in your gut, you just kind of know I kind of shouldn't have gotten that. Unfortunately, by the time that I finally got around to trying to get a refund for it, the refund period for Etsy or PayPal had already expired, I guess. I guess there's only a 3-month window that you can ask for a refund. They had told me to just contact the creator, and I wasn't able to contact her until a year later when the decks were being fulfilled again. But anyway, just that experience, knowing that I bought the deck out of FOMO, and then also once finally getting the deck a whole year and a half later, all of that just turned me off from the deck. And then again, the deck itself just was not really clicking for me. So those reasons are why the Cosmic Cycles Tarot just did not work for me. Do not recommend FOMO purchasing. Just do not recommend. But luckily, even though I don't have the Cosmic Cycles Tarot, there are a few other decks that I do enjoy instead that do scratch that same itch. So if you are like me, you didn't like the Cosmic Cycles Tarot, or you don't want it, you don't jive with it, whatever reason, check out this review video that I did. Maybe these alternative decks will work for you instead. Question number 3. How do you set limits? I don't deliberately set any actual limits for myself, such as, I'm only going to buy once a month, or I'm only going to spend this much on decks. And the reason for that is because I just kind of know I'm able to spend within my means, and I don't feel like I just don't feel like I've ever spent beyond what I've had. I feel like I'm generally actually kind of frugal enough that when I do spend, I'm pretty confident in my decisions. I subconsciously just don't get as much FOMO now because my deck collection is bigger than it was last year or the year before. I feel like, the first year or two I was new to tarot, it's definitely easy to just buy a lot of decks to just try them out and then to, give them away or sell them, rehome them, whatever doesn't work for me. Now that my deck collection is bigger, I'm not as interested or as impulsive to buy decks as I was the years before because now I have more decks that I enjoy and I also don't have as much space. Another subconscious way that I set limits is, honestly, I hate the work of having to rehome a deck. The act of having to take pictures and type up the dang post and finally post it somewhere, mentally figure out how to price it properly that I feel like I'm getting a good deal back, but also trying to let it sell. It's just a lot of mental work. Physical work, not so much, but mental work, yeah, it's just mental work that I don't enjoy. So whenever I feel like I want to buy a new deck, I'm already feeling in my mind or in my body, I'm already feeling that pain of having to rehome the deck. And that already is like a check and balance, a buffer against me like impulsively buying the deck. Like, how much work is it going to be if I had to rehome this deck later? Another way that kind of limits me from impulsively buying decks is that I've mostly committed to buying decks secondhand now. For me, it helps a lot because when I put a deck on my wish list, I will start having it in the back of my mind. I do follow a bunch of tarot buy-sell groups, and I do check those groups often, not even to buy decks, just because I'm curious like what's out there. I'm curious what people are selling. I'm curious what decks are like popular, what decks are like being repeatedly sold, what decks are not able to be sold because the same person keeps posting them over and over and no one wants that deck. I'm just curious about these things. So when I commit to buying decks secondhand, it lets me like wait. So instead of buying them new, I get to just kind of wait and see if people are posting them at all. I feel like if months have gone by and I still haven't seen that deck like pop up on a secondhand market, that tells me two things. That either tells me the deck is good enough that people are buying it and they don't want to get rid of it, they don't want to sell it, or it tells me that maybe the deck is too niche, too obscure, that like no one's even heard of it, people aren't even buying it in the first place, or people are just not even hearing of it in the first place. So in those cases, it would make sense to buy it new because, if no one's buying the deck, how am I going to get a second hand? But it also just makes me reconsider because if that deck is not popular enough that not enough people are buying and reselling it or even in search of it, maybe that's a sign that I wonder if that deck will actually work for me after all. But yeah, I definitely support buying secondhand because A, I'm getting the deck usually at a lower price, typically at a lower price if I can. And B, I'm just helping someone else like get rid of something that they don't need, Again, back to what I was saying earlier about how I hate rehoming decks, I can help someone rehome their deck when I buy their deck secondhand. So win-win. Question number 4, how many decks do you have? I have 44 tarot decks and 20 oracle decks. I actually do plan to film an oracle deck collection video soon, and I may be decluttering a couple of decks. I've had my oracle decks in like this box for a couple months, and the fact that I have not really been reaching or craving like using these oracle decks probably says something about, how many decks can probably be decluttered. Or maybe that just says something about my tarot and divination practice as a whole right now. Who knows? But anyway, oracle deck collection video coming out soon. Question 5, how many decks do you need? Okay, so I'm not the first person to say this. I've heard this said in other VRs. But I will echo and expand on this. So the question, do you really need this? How many do you really need? That can be a loaded question because sometimes people use it as a way to judge why you should or shouldn't have something. For example, with poor people, some people will be like, why do you have a Game Boy? Why do you have a phone? Why do you have like these nice things when you should be spending money on getting a job or getting food or whatever instead? The answer to that, why do you have a phone? First of all, phones are super important nowadays. Like, whether you have an old phone or a new phone, like, technology is super duper important. It is very hard to survive without technology. A smartphone is like a little computer that you need for, like, accessing internet, accessing jobs and resources. Like, there's no question why someone has a phone, honestly. Even if it's an expensive phone, like, if it works, like, that's important. The other example I mentioned, why do you have, like, a Game Boy or a gaming console when you're poor? The reason is, things that are vital to our survival and things that are vital to our happiness are two different needs, but both are important for human life. And I'd argue that happiness is vital to survival. So why do you have a Game Boy? Because it makes you happy. Like, even if you're poor, like, poor people can have nice things. Even if you don't need something, you still deserve to have nice things. I'm not implying that April of Tarot and Witchery was making any negative judgments here about people who do need or don't need things. I'm just expanding on this conversation, just to be clear. So my answer to this, or my caveat to this, is even though I don't like need these decks for like my base survival, like I'm not eating these decks and I'm not like drinking these or not providing a roof over my head, I'm not using them for income, but vital to happiness, I think is just as important to survival as basic human needs are. Anyway, I would answer this question, how many decks do you need? As if all my decks got burned down and I had to repurchase them, how many would I immediately repurchase first? And I would say probably 5. I would probably repurchase like at least 5 at once at first. It would give me a good variety to start with. And also on a tangent or related to this question, I wanted to share an exchange that I had like last month or a couple months ago. I had this tarot meetup at my place where a bunch of friends came over and we just all like spread out around my coffee table. We all brought our decks to show off and just play with. It was a really fun time just seeing everyone's decks and what they enjoyed. And it was especially fun getting to share my own collection of decks because I really, really enjoy all of the decks that I have. And I love showing them off, and I love that other people get to enjoy the art and the decks that I have. And there was one question that one of my friends asked. She asked me, how does it feel to be surrounded by all of this abundance? Like word for word, that is what she asked. And I thought about it and I said, it honestly feels really good. Because when I was younger, my parents, especially my mom, was super frugal. You know, I think frugality and being smart with your money, of course, is a good trait to have. But I also think when taken to like the extreme, when frugality impedes your own chase for happiness, or when you're so frugal that you don't want to buy things that actually make you happy or invest in things that actually make you happy, I think that can be detriment to your health. So I'm really glad that I was able to work through some of this frugality and these things that were like holding me back from like truly being happy the past few years, that now I can really appreciate these decks that I have. Like, I make money, you know, if I can't spend money on things that make me happy, then what is the point of making money? Like, I have enough savings. Might as well like also spend money on what makes me happy. Like, that's the point of working and putting my back into my job. Just buy things that make you happy. So it does make me feel really good to have all of these decks, to know that so many people have put such cool art out there. They put their heart and soul into their work, and their work is out in the world. It inspires me to want to put my work out into the world too, to figure out like what makes me happy. What stamp do I want to leave on the world? Not even on the world, just what do I want to do that makes me happy and like, you know, publish out there. That's how I feel, being surrounded by all this abundance, being surrounded by all these things that I don't, you know, need for my base human survival, but I do appreciate and need for my happiness survival. Okay, question number 6. What is a positive deck purchase from FOMO? That is the Majestic Earth Tarot right here. My cat is joining the stream. I will also put some clips on the screen of the actual cards being shown, but for fidgeting reasons, I'll just have them on hand. This Majestic Earth Tarot is a beautiful deck, and it shuffles so well. I can't even describe in words how well it shuffles, so again, I will insert some clips here. I got this in a factory second sale 1 or 2 years ago, and I knew how popular it was at the time, so I definitely purchased it pretty much right as soon as I heard about it. And I have not regretted it since, to be honest. It is unfortunately out of print now. I think in the past 1 or 2 years, I have not heard of another factory second sale. So I'm truly sorry to everyone who hasn't been able to get this. I know this is exceedingly popular, and I know most people who have it, like, they really, really enjoy it, myself included. But it is what it is. I'm glad that I have it. But, you know, to not contribute to the FOMO... Oh, gosh. Hey, stop that. But to try to counter the FOMO a little bit, there's a couple of alternative decks to the Majestic Earth that I want to show you right now. As soon as my cat stops bothering the lights. Okay, she's gone. Okay, so the couple of decks I have here are both by Tina. Her username is Queen of Wands on WordPress, and on Instagram. I don't think she's posting much, but anyway, she made these decks. So there's 2 decks here, and I will also show them on the top-down view as well. Both of these decks are photographic decks. So Tina basically took a lot of photography, a lot of images that are free for use, a lot of photos that other people have taken, and compiled into these tarot decks. So first we have the Naturescapes Tarot. This is, as the name implies, all nature-y landscapes. These photos are just super spacious, and they invoke a lot of feelings in me, similar to how the Majestic Earth Tarot does. There is a wide range of colors, just like in the Majestic Earth. The Majestic Earth is all oil paintings, whereas the Naturescapes is all photographs. However, I still think they have a lot of the same qualities, and it's just super beautiful. But yeah, the Naturescapes Tarot, highly, highly recommend. I would like to do more readings with this year, actually. But yeah, this is one alternative to the Majestic Earth Tarot. The other alternative is the Tarot of Architectural Objects. This one, as the name implies, is architectural objects. So rather than naturally made, like landscapes, this one is all human-made architectural objects. What's really cool about this deck is the suits are all depicted by different items or different objects. So for example, the swords are depicted by windows, the pentacles are depicted through stairs, the wands are depicted through doors, and the cups are depicted through statues and sculptures. So that thematic element is really cool. The photos that Tina chose for this deck are also super duper stunning, and I honestly was not as interested in this deck when I first heard of it until I visited New York and actually got to see some beautiful architecture and some beautiful city landscapes and cityscapes. I feel like after visiting New York, I got a better appreciation for architecture and also just the space of being somewhere and getting to observe it for yourself. So I feel like this deck is similar to the Majestic Earth in that there's a spaciousness to them, and they just both feel very, I guess, just spacious. I just don't know what other word to describe it as. So yeah, if you're bummed about the Majestic Earth not being available, I'd recommend checking out these two decks instead to see if either of them pique your interest. Now, before the last question, I'm going to insert a question of my own here. What is a deck that I almost got from FOMO, but didn't? And the answer to that is the Boo Tarot. I actually almost got this deck when someone posted about the exchange rate of euros to dollars going down like a few months back. I'm glad I didn't, because after thinking on it and after checking the exchange rate multiple times and adding it to cart multiple times, I just decided I'm just not feeling it enough to want to pay for it. And a couple of alternative decks that I have that I enjoy instead, I feel like scratch that same itch, are the Tarot of Renard and the Affirmators Tarot. The Tarot of Renard is by the same creator, Celia Melsvie. They both have the same beautiful watercolor spaciousness to them. I know I've used the word spaciousness a lot in this video, but I just don't know how else to describe it. There's just a beautiful spaciousness to these drawings, to these illustrations. I love how expansive they feel. The watercolors, they fill up the whole card. They really expand to the edges of the card, just like the Boo Tarot does. I feel like both of them are also set outdoors, in the indiscriminate outdoors, so they're not inside like I guess humans might be. So there's just that airiness, that spaciousness, that wide open world feel to both of these decks. And because the decks are by the same creator, I feel like whatever I enjoyed about the Boo Tarot, I already enjoy about the Tarot for now, and I just don't feel the need for the Boo Tarot in my collection. I also love these faces in the Tarot of Renard. I feel like they're just so dreamy, so cute and smiley, just like how the Boo Tarot is. So I just don't feel the need for the Boo Tarot when I have the Tarot of Renard here already. And another deck that I have and enjoy is the Affirmators Tarot. They're cute, smiley creatures. I can't not love them. These have the same indiscriminately open world feel that the Boo Tarot has. And these have the same cutesy faces. The cute range of faces and expressions that the Boo Tarot has. I don't have as much to say about this one as I do for the Tarot for now, but I still enjoy it very much, and I think while I have this one, I don't need the Boo Tarot as much. And now for the last question, what are your thoughts on the state of deck FOMO in our community? For the community, in quotes, I don't really have anything to say because, first off, I only just started making videos. I don't want to claim I'm a huge part of the community. I just think everyone is doing what they feel is right for them in that moment. There are a couple things I want to say that are related to this question. One, there are sometimes comments that I see from people who are frustrated that there are too many deck unboxings. Sometimes I do feel this frustration when I'm trying to search for a comprehensive review of a deck and all I see are unboxings and first impressions. So that I get. If you're trying to search for thorough, in-depth reviews, but all you're seeing are first impressions videos, I get it, it's frustrating. But for people who are frustrated that there's too many deck unboxings, there's too many people making this video, there's not enough content of other things or more in-depth videos, I would encourage you to make the content that you want to see, whether it's on YouTube or your own blog or Instagram posts, whatever. Just make the content that you want to see. Or you can ask in Facebook groups or tarot groups if there are any videos already on this or that. Just people make deck unboxing videos or deck walkthrough or review videos because they're easier to make. They typically don't require as much mental preparation as in-depth tarot videos. So, and even the idea of in-depth tarot videos is just, it's so broad. So if you want to see more content that's in-depth, first of all, what is it exactly that you wish to see? And second of all, why don't you try making it yourself? Not meant to shade, just honest opinions. And that's actually what my goal is here too with this channel. I mean, not that I hate deck unboxings or that I think there's too many of them, but more that I want to put out what I think is interesting and develop my own style and kind of eventually keep putting out content that I feel is important and that I want to see on this website. And also, when you do see content that you like, that you appreciate, that you think is in-depth and to your standards or whatever, leave supportive comments on them. Support that person, give them visibility, let them know that their content is seen and appreciated. So, 2 prongs. One is don't watch those videos that aren't working for you. And 2 is support and amplify the videos that are. The other thing I wanted to say in relation to this question is that if you're feeling FOMO over a deck, I suggest just sitting with it and putting it on your wish list or look out for list for a while. Just let it sit on the back of your mind. Let it, take up some rent space there before you actually have the deck or before you hardcore search for it. Just consider, what is it about the deck that you like? As you have this deck on the back of your mind, you might come across other decks that actually give you the same vibes. That's my tip, that's how I talked myself out of a few decks, both ones that are in print, like the Boo Tarot, and also currently out of print. This is something that Lisa Papez at Supportive Tarot also does during her anti-hauls. She talks about the decks that she almost bought, then she compares them to a deck that she currently has and enjoys instead. So that's another tip that I have found useful for dealing with FOMO and dealing with slowing down my impulse purchases. So that's that. Thank you to April at Tarot and Witchery for creating this tag. These questions were very thoughtful, and I hope to make more VRs like this or other ones in the future. That is all for today. I hope to see you in another video. Bye!